And welcome to the Tennis Menu's daily Roland Garros show. Val here with you. And remember, you can head to the tennismenu.com and subscribe to the annual package for just $99.90 US for over 600 tennis-specific drills to make you a better tennis coach. It's been designed by the man that sits alongside me, Marc, and we're going to chat to him in a second. But the men's semifinals are done and dusted, and we have, well, the obvious one, which none of us picked. Novak Djokovic against Rafael Nadal. They will take on each other for a record 56th time. They just keep expanding. They've met every year on the tour since 2006, and they will meet again in a Grand Slam final. Nadal easily accounting for Diego Schwartzman. It wasn't easy. It was actually very, very close to their average time on court, which is really unbelievable. And also Novak Djokovic pushed to the brink by Stefanos Tsitsipas. But we're going to chat about why these younger athletes can't go 5 sets with Nadal, Djokovic, or Federer, and why they struggle winning when it gets down to those clutch moments, and what Nadal actually does to get himself over the line in these tough matchups where he will be grinded down and where he's going to have to be made to work. And we're also going to talk about the all-important women's final between Iga Swiatek and Sofia Kenin tonight. But we can't do it without these two lovely men sitting with me. We were awful with our picks yesterday, so hopefully we can provide you with a little bit more solace today. But Marc, thank you very much for joining us, the best high-performance coach in the business.
Thanks, Val. And what an epic night of tennis. I mean, you know, the 5-setter between Tsitsipas and Djokovic was incredible. Djokovic served for the match at 5-4 in the third set. It looked like it was going to be a straight set. It's pretty much, you know, a routine victory for him. And Stefanos came back, and we'll touch on that match as we go along. But the tactic behind what Djokovic did in that last sort of set and a half that wore Tsitsipas down was pretty impressive. So I want to go through that a little bit more.
And he executed it absolutely to perfection. And Joel Frucci also joins us. Joel, how are you, mate? You're fresh off a good night's sleep, you were telling me, so you're ready to roll in.
Yeah, feeling good this morning, boys, but boy, do we have some explaining to do.
Yeah, so let's not talk about those tips. You guys are okay. You all picked Djokovic. I was the one that went for Tsitsipas, and I almost looked like an absolute genius this morning. I was up and about, couldn't sleep, having some of Marc's problems, and just couldn't get my eyes closed. And put the match on at 7 o'clock this morning, watched the end of the 4th set, and I'm like, oh my God, he might actually pull this off. And, well, Novak went God mode and just could not miss a ball in that final set. And Tsitsipas just had to keep with him. And as soon as Djokovic got that first break, that was it. But the scoreline there was Djokovic 6-3, 6-2, 5-7, 4-6, 6-1. It was unbelievable. Serving for the match at 5-4 in the third set, having a match point. Tsitsipas breaks. It took Djokovic another hour and 43 minutes until he saw his next match point. But what was so amazing was in this match, Tsitsipas just completely raised his level. He just raised it. Djokovic didn't dip. And Steph just said, you know what? I'm going for it. And he went for it. His level was just supreme. And he was able to go toe-to-toe with Djokovic for those 2 sets. But as Marc alluded to, there was something in that 5th set that was Tsitsipas' undoing. And it created the fatigue that didn't allow him, and the body cramps that didn't allow him to go on and go forth with the match. So, Marc, if you care to elaborate on that, we'll chat more.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on this because I think it's really important for us to all, I guess, understand the concept behind it. So I'm going to show you a few little stats, which I feel as though really shows a difference. And if you can see here, Djokovic is up on this side here. And if you want to look at the drop shots, that to me was the clear-cut difference where Djokovic hits 12 backhand drop shot winners, 5 forehand drop shot winners. So he's hit 17 winners and he's hit 3 forcing errors. So it's 20 off the drop shot. Now that means that Tsitsipas is having to move about 10 to 15 meters every single time he's trying to get to those drop shots from the back of the court, from a running ball. And you think about those sprints going at full tilt, sliding, he then gets to a position where he's basically sliding in through his adductors in his groin. And that's where the injury and also the fatigue did come in. And I feel like that to me was the real clincher in the end, because Tsitsipas was so tired. He was so fatigued, so sore. He just could not get over the line in that 5th set. And Djokovic utilized the court space really well. And I felt like that was a telling factor in the end in that Tsitsipas couldn't keep going.
Yeah, and I think Djokovic probably would have taken some solace over what happened between Hugo Gaston and Dominic Thiem, that Thiem was just wrecked after that encounter with Gaston. He had to chase about 50 drop shots. But what you said there, 20 winners there, or 20 points going to Djokovic from a drop shot. That's the equivalent of 5 games, Mark.
Yep.
So that when you look at that, Tsitsipas won 5 games in the first 2 sets combined. That is how pivotal that number is. And Djokovic was so good. And because that clay isn't bouncing as high, you've really got to get there. You've got to work hard, twice as hard, and have twice the technique. And I noticed that a lot of the players towards the end of the tournament are already running with their rackets out, ready to hit that shot instead of running with their rackets in the hand. And I think that's helping them a lot. And Tsitsipas hit a couple of really good passing shots, but Novak was absolutely supreme. And Joel, looking at the result, does it surprise you that Tsitsipas did take it to 5, or is it more the 5th set just was back to normality?
Yeah, look, no, I'm not really surprised that Steph was able to get himself back into the match. I think we've sort of come to expect that from him now. He's a little temperamental in some respects, but when he's up and going, he's pretty hard to beat. And I mean, realistically, we've spoken a lot about how the conditions and the clay should suit his game. Yeah, I think, and I guess we were talking a lot about how he really needed to try and shorten the points as well, and how that might help Steph. Djokovic won the lion's share of 0 to 4 points as well, 96 to 76, and he was more effective at the net too. But look, Steph himself said that he's not one of the next gen anymore. He's a big boy, and we're seeing that more and more. And I think clearly he gets it, and the fact that he was able to fight his way back in, I think really speaks to that too.
Yeah, and I think he proved that he is a big boy, but not big enough, because he wasn't able to go with Novak in that 5th set. And as we spoke about, he started to cramp and just feel really fatigued. But one thing I want to ask you, Mark, and it does my head in, because the amount of 5-set tennis that players are expected to play, and we've got all these absolute morons in the media that are trying to say that 5-set tennis isn't right anymore. We need to get it back to best of 3. It's a load of crap. It is a load of crap. This is history. We do not need to change 5-set tennis. It needs to stay as it is, because this is a Grand Slam. This should be the hardest tournament to win out of all of them. And that's why best of 5 sets is there, because it is difficult to win. And then we used to have the Masters 1000 finals that used to go to 5 sets when they actually got to the final too. Roger and Rafa have had some classic encounters in that format, and in the best of 5, when the first 5 rounds were best of 3. And also the ATP finals, the final there used to be best of 5. None of that is best of 5 anymore. And the ITF has taken the liberty of cutting the Davis Cup out completely with no best of 5-set tennis. So what I'm asking, Mark, these older guys have been conditioned beautifully to play these best of 5-set epics, but the younger guys have absolutely no clue. And we saw back in the day, Roger Federer was trained by Tony Roach, and to get that physicality where he could go in those marathon matches, and it took him up another level, Roger. But you're looking at the young guys now. What are we doing? Like, how can we train for players to actually be able to go? Because Diego Schwartzman said last night that these guys are so impossible to beat over best of 5 sets. Well, they're not. You're just not conditioned enough. So it's my gripe. It's like you're going in mentally unprepared. You've got to be ready to go. And like, they are ready, I'm sure. But how can you continue this momentum? Because Daniil Medvedev did it at the US Open last year in the final, couldn't beat Rafa. And Djokovic and Tsitsipas has done it to Djokovic in the semis of the Oz Open this year and couldn't beat him.
It's a really good question, and it's something that I think is probably very complex to answer. I guess the simple part of it is that obviously Nadal, Federer, and Djokovic have been around for 15 years. They have done 15 years of pre-seasons. They have played 15 years of Grand Slams. They have had the work put behind them. Now, when you're a young guy and you haven't got that work, it's very hard. It's very hard to match physicality when you haven't had the time and the experience doing it. And that's in a nutshell where it sits. How do you train that? Well, it's hard. You need time. You need years of doing it. You need practice of doing it. You need, like I've had players prepare for Grand Slams in the past where we've done sessions that would go for 4 or 5 hours and do one session a day, as opposed to the general, let's do 2-hour sessions broken up. So it's about trying to get and simulate the time on court. And that's the hardest part. So it's not hot in France at the moment, which is one blessing for the athletes. But when you're preparing for an Australian Open, we did sessions that were 4 or 5 hours long. We would go straight where I had to keep the players' concentration for that 5 hours, because it's not only physical, but once you become physically fatigued, you become mentally fatigued. So, and in training, it's very hard to have adrenaline. You can't simulate adrenaline. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to get them fatigued. Then they've got to learn to concentrate for longer periods of time. The other thing that really does happen a lot in the 5-set matches is the younger players don't think about the nutritional side of it. If you don't eat for 5 hours, you're physically not fueled to play. Now, when you see Djokovic, Nadal, Federer, they consistently eat through matches. They've got their electrolytes, they've got their water, they've got their special drinks, whatever the hell they've got inside them. A lot of them are different, but it's the preparation around not just how much training you're doing, but what you're putting into your body and fueling your systems with to be able to last a long period of time. Some players sweat more than others. Do they compensate for that? There's so many factors that come into not able to play the distance. And, I've gone through that in the past where I've tried different preparations. We tried sessions where we do an hour of tennis, we do a 20-minute fitness block, and then do another hour of tennis and 20-minute fitness block and another hour of tennis, 20 minutes, and try to simulate that for 5 hours and try to get the player really fatigued. Now, it's great to do that once, but the hard thing in a Grand Slam is you have to do it 5 sets, 7 matches to win the tournament. Now, you may not go to 5 every match, understandably, but you have to be prepared to go to 5 every match. You can't expect to go, hey, I'm going to win straight until I get to the final and play Novak or Rafa and play 5. You've got to be prepared to play 5. And as a coach, I need my athlete to be ready. And if they're not ready, that's my fault as well.
Yeah.
So I think that hopefully that answers your question, but I think it's a really good topic and something that these players need to take into account when they're prepared for a slam.
I think so as well. And to keep the adrenaline going, I have a great idea. Why don't you get a whip and just absolutely hammer and tong, and then you know what, they got no excuse but to have adrenaline and try to run away from that whip and stay concentrated. Because if you make an error, good night.
Like a horse race, man.
Yeah, exactly. Just the coach is the jockey, the player's the horse. That is probably so not PC right now, but yeah, no, look, it's something that has always frustrated me, because I do prefer best of 5-set tennis, and obviously when it is a fizzer, it's not great, but they're not conditioned enough. And I think for these Masters 1000 finals, especially, if you got to come up against a player like, say a Nadal, a Djokovic, or whatever, and you've come from playing best of 2 sets, and then all of a sudden you got to play best of 5, I think that gives you the great experience in those cities like Miami, like Indian Wells, like Monte Carlo. I think it gives you great experience. It's amazing. And to be able to play those extra 5-set matches, players should relish that. That's their career. If you don't want to do it, then, you shouldn't be playing Grand Slams. But what do I know? I just sit in the media. But Novak Djokovic through to the final. He will play Rafael Nadal for the 56th time in his career. And well, this was brutal from the very get-go, this one. And Djokovic and Nadal 6-3, 6-3, 7-6 over Diego Schwartzman. And it was genuinely an unbelievable contest early on. And what Nadal was able to do, the first game itself went for 14 minutes, and Schwartzman had a couple of breakpoint opportunities. Nadal held and then broke Schwartzman immediately, and Schwartzman got the break back. But then Nadal was able to run away with it, and then the third set ended up going to a tiebreak. But 3 hours and 9 minutes, very close to the average in what I said yesterday, in 3 hours and 15 minutes. That's for 3 sets. That's averaging an hour and 3 minutes for 3 sets, which is just genuinely astonishing. But Rafa, just too good. Avenges the loss in Rome. Looking at him last night, he was very, very solid. The backhand was just unbreakable. And the forehand, a couple of errors here and there, but he was able to open Schwartzman up with it so brilliantly. So Joel, looking at that, I think both of us were messaging last night and just said, "Oh my God, I think we both need to go to sleep." But Schwartzman was ready for the fight, but Rafa was just more ready, I guess.
Yeah, it looked like that. I mean, as you say, Val, the start of the match was something else, really. 14 minutes opening game, and then a couple of ebbs and flows from there. But yeah, felt as though it was one of those opening sets or a match where that opening set was really, really important. And you just felt as though if it fell into Rafa's lap, then it was likely that he was probably going to go on from there and consolidate. But listening to the two players in their post-match press conferences, Diego Schwartzman really pinpointed his backhand as what let him down. He said that he wasn't aggressive enough on the backhand wing, and we were talking a lot about how his error count would probably have to be high if he was going to beat Rafa. Well, it was high, but unfortunately for Diego, it was twice as high as his win account, 24 and 48. So, you're probably not going to win too many matches with a stat like that. But yeah, and then Rafa, for his part, he was talking about their meeting in Rome, and of course Diego Schwartzman won that match. But Rafa really said he was able to utilize that match and go back to the drawing board and pick apart what he did well and what he didn't do so well. And of course, the scenario was different. It was a lot warmer in Rome than it was in Paris. But Rafa was clearly able to identify the things that he needed to.
Yeah, and he was. And I think the first point of the match, I think, was so poignant because Schwartzman had a shot or had a forehand which he was trying to run inside out of and really attack and gettable by anybody's standards on the tour. And he hit it straight into the net. And I think it was like, look, the intent is there, but you got to be making those against Rafa because he's going to punish you. And Nadal, 38 winners and only 34 unforced errors. And just his sheer dominance on that clay is amazing. And he's 13-0 in Roland Garros semifinals now, and he's never lost a Roland Garros final either. But this one is a much bigger test. But Marc, you had some interesting stats on the Nadal-Schwartzman matchup as well. So if you'd care to go into those and deep dive into those a little bit more.
Yeah, I wanted to just go through this and touch on it a little bit because I felt like it was important to understand. So Nadal wins his matches via, so Rafa wins his matches via the forehand. The forehand is his weapon, okay? So he was plus 16, which is your winners plus your forcing errors minus your unforced errors. He was plus 16 on the forehand. And he was only a -2 for his backhand. So we talk about the sword and the shield as coaches. Your sword is the one that's going to win you the points. It's going to be more offensive, more aggressive, and take to the opponent. Whereas the shield is the one that should be solid. So there should be an even base around your shield. So Nadal was very even. He hit 12 winners and forcing errors, and he hit 14 unforced errors. So he was a -2, very, very clean, very concise. His win count on the forehand outweighed his unforced error count by a long way. And that to me shows the sword and the shield really well. Then you look on the flip side and you've got Diego Schwartzman, and I feel like this is where it let him down. And as you said, Joel, and you touched on, he was -12 on the backhand. If your shield, if your solid part of your game is breaking down, you're in big trouble. You know, your shield needs to be the one that stays and keeps you in the rally. And his forehand was only a +5. Just wasn't enough to hurt Nadal, as Joel was saying. He had to go bigger. He had to play more aggressive. And those stats to me really tell the tale of what happened in the match. And when you play against a player like Rafael Nadal, you need to be at your best. You need to be aggressive. You need to be taking the game away from him. You can't allow him to dictate you. And then that was the difference in the match.
Yep, and Marc Da Vinci there with his absolute gold in his stats and the drawings, this perfect circles. I love it. But no, I do love that insight. And Schwartzman's backhand is generally something that is so solid. And when you have the ability to go toe to toe, and I think this is him playing Nadal in a nutshell. He's able to go toe to toe in the sword and the shield reference with so many other players on tour. But when he takes on a Federer, when he takes on a Nadal, when he takes on a Djokovic, that's when he's exposed because they're the ones that are able to overcome the challenges that he presents. And also, I think his serve is probably something that lacks. And last night, he really tried to get a little bit of extra pop on it. But he only hit 3 double faults, but 2 aces just doesn't he hit first serves that I thought, oh, geez, they look quick. But 188 kilometers an hour, and look, his height's not going to help that. But And that's something he said during the week. It's something, a shot that he would steal on the ATP website is the serve of John Isner, because he's small and he doesn't have a big one. So and that's the thing. It's not something that he can help, but I think against a beast like Nadal, you're just going to come unstuck. But we obliterated our reputations yesterday. They are gone. They are they're irreparable. Marc, maybe yours is okay, but mine is gone. Joel, you at least picked Djokovic, so yours is a little bit intact, but mine is just that far out of proportions now. So let's go with our picks anyway. Men's final, we'll go into a little bit more depth tomorrow as well, like we did sort of yesterday with the women's final. But just a quick pick for now, like a Tatslotto, a quick pick. Marc?
Yeah, I honestly, I'm that bad at this picking who's going to win. It's harder to pick than a clean nose at the moment. So I think I'm going to look. I'm hoping it's Rafa. I'm hoping it's Rafa. But I think Novak might have his measure this year. I think that even though I don't think he played well, he's at his peak against Tsitsipas for the entire match. I still think he's got something, but I really hope Rafa. So I'm sitting on the fence, and I Djokovic.
Djokovic, Joel.
Well, I said Rafa to win the tournament, and then I backed against him against Diego, and he gave me a good old-fashioned kick up the bum. So I'm going to say Rafa.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Rafa as well. Mainly because I think if he equals Roger, I still don't think he can be considered the GOAT, because most of his slam titles have come at Roland Garros, whereas Roger has done it at 3 of the 4, and he's won a lot more titles. So yeah, they're head-to-head, but that's fine. We don't worry about that. Roger's got him on hard and grass. Nadal just dominates one surface, and I think that's why if we can keep Djokovic at bay for longer, I think that's what we like. But that's my.
You guys hear that? I can hear a can of worms opening.
No, that's all. That's all. The Nole fam is probably going to attack me. They're probably going to attack me, but it's nothing I'm not used to. I can handle myself. I'm a big boy. I'm not the next gen anymore, like Stefanos Tsitsipas said. But the women's final tonight, this is something that we are very, very excited about. And let's preview what we are going to expect. And Marc, well, you're the expert here. So Iga Swiatek, and she actually corrected everybody. It is Iga Swiatek. So we've had it right the entire tournament, apart from maybe probably the first couple of days where I may have mispronounced it. But what do we reckon? Marc?
Yeah, look, yesterday I said Kenin, and I felt like the way Kenin's playing is really good. I listened to a few things that Iga was talking about in her press conferences, saying that she's always said to people that if she's going to win a Grand Slam, it will be the French Open. She's got a lot of confidence in herself. For a young girl, she oozes that. She hasn't been tested at all at the French Open. Not one round has really tested her to a limit. I think the most she's lost in one set is 3 games, possibly. Could even be one set that was 4, but she's really not being tested at all at the French Open. And I feel it's because of her ability to create width in the game, to have variety in the game. She can penetrate the court when she needs to, but she can also have plenty of feel and plenty of angles. So she definitely possesses the game to beat Sofia Kenin. And that's one thing that I know Shane Leonard touched on when he was on the show, is that to beat Kenin, you've got to get her out of her strike zone. You've got to get her moving. And I think Iga can do that. I picked Kenin yesterday, but I think over the last 24 hours, I've had a little bit of sleep last night, which was really nice to actually get some for the first time in a few weeks. And I slept, and it made me think about it. And I think Iga might just be slightly the favourite in this one now.
I think you've been working too hard, mate, if you're dreaming about the French Open. It does happen occasionally. It does. I think I've had a dream about the French Open over the last couple of weeks as well. So I think it just encroaches into your subconscious. But I can't even... Who did I say yesterday? Can you guys remember at all?
I got no idea.
Because I've got no clue. I can't remember who I said. Joel, you got any idea?
Can't remember, mate.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to have to go back and watch, and it's all brand new opinions today. Yeah, I probably should remember that. But Joel, what's who do you think is going? And look, I think I know already with your answer, because you said it. You went very, very early. And are you sticking with your Polish girl?
Yeah, I am. I think it's going to be really important early for Sofia Kenin if she's going to get on top, because Iga Swiatek is really trying to be the aggressor. So I kind of feel like if Sofia can rattle the cage early, that might be her best way through. It'll be interesting as well. Iga's been working with a sports psychologist, and I had to listen to that on Ben Rothenberg's podcast yesterday. He was interviewing her. And really, she was sort of explaining what she's done to help Iga's game. So I'm interested in that. And if that does happen, if Sofia Kenin sort of gets up in her grill, how Iga will respond to that.
Yep, and it'll be really interesting. Look, I think I picked Iga yesterday. I think, but I'm going to go with her mainly because she does pose that quirkiness that Kenin might not be used to. And look, she played her before, but that was 4 years ago in a junior French Open. And Kenin has gone on to do bigger and better things since then. But I just think on the clay and especially Marc talking about the angles that Iga Swiatek was able to produce and has been able to produce, and the fact that she hasn't been tested. I just think she might be able to get on top early, and that might be it. And I don't think we're going to see Sofia Kenin's dad playing musical chairs in the coach's box today. But look, I'm really excited about the matchup because it is, and as we've seen with so many women's finals, it is the unknown. We genuinely don't know who is going to win, and I think that was when Serena was playing. We had a fair idea, and it was a major upset when she'd lose, and especially like looking back to the 2016 Oz Open when Angie Kerber won it. You're looking back and you don't forget. You forget how overriding or how much of a favorite Serena was. Here we don't really have one, and it's great. So I'm looking forward to seeing what is going to happen tonight. So we're going Marc, Kenin, Val, Swiatek, and Joel Swiatek. So at least one of us is going to wake up a winner in the morning, and hopefully with their reputation intact. But Marc Safoulis, thank you very much for joining us on the show today. It's been an absolute pleasure as always.
Absolute pleasure, boys. Can't wait to see these two finals. I think both the men's and the women's will be cracking finals over the next 2 days. So looking forward to watching it.
Very excited. And Mark Da Vinci there with his expert drawing in the red pen on Zoom, and Joel Stone Cold Frucci. I forgot to introduce you today, but in our meeting yesterday, he was labeled Stone Cold, and Mark, I think Mark.
Yeah, I've got something for you.
There's a little bit of music playing in the background. Little bit of music.
Stone Cold Steve Austin coming down. That's Joel Frucci now.
Joel Stone Cold Frucci, thank you very much, mate.
No worries, boys. Looking forward to being back tomorrow and basking in the gloriousness of correctly predicting Iga Swiatek winning the tournament.
Yeah, if you do, you know what? Actually, tomorrow we need to make a Mankini bet, and I will do it if I'm wrong. But you guys need to do something as well. I'm not going the only crow. Mark, don't make the joke about shaving your head. But no, it has been an absolute pleasure chatting tennis with you again. Remember, you can head to the tennismenu.com and subscribe to the annual package for just $99.90 US with over 600 tennis specific drills to make you a better tennis coach. And remember, you can follow us on social media at the Tennis Menu on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We're on LinkedIn as well, so follow us. You'll catch all of our content on there. George Vogiatis doing some amazing work on Instagram. Joel's doing wonders on Twitter, and then we've got our blogs and stuff going up as well. So plenty to get through tonight. We've got the women's final. We're going to review that all tomorrow and preview the match number 57 between Novak Djokovic and Rafael Nadal.